Hello, guys, and welcome to a new episode of the F1 podcast with my friend Mohammed. Uh, Today, we're going to preview the Australian Grand Prix, the season opener, the start of the season, all the hype, all the expectations, all the BS goes out the window, and the season will finally start on Sunday when the lights go out in Australia. All like I said, all the hype, all the BS, all the talk, all the predictions, and everything else, all the mathematics guys goes out the window, and the season finally starts.
Yeah.
Not only we're going to talk about the race upcoming, we're also going to talk who do you think is going to challenge for the drivers and the constructors. So before we start, Mohammed, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So let's start with first of all, before we preview Australia, the constructors championship. Who do you think? How many teams do you think can challenge for that title?
Uh, I'm gonna put this out there. I'm gonna say hopefully four, but I think it's gonna be three.
Okay, who?
Uh, my prediction is it's gonna be McLaren, Mercedes, and Ferrari if Ferrari aren't shit. Or and Red Bull. Yeah, McLaren, and Red Bull. And who do I think is gonna win the championship? I think it's gonna be McLaren,
Okay, so
and I
you
have
don't
my
think
reasoning.
Mercedes is going to challenge for the title?
Uh, I don't think Mercedes are going to challenge for the title, and I have my reasoning behind all of it.
Okay, say the reasons.
First of all, McLaren or have the Mercedes engine, which we already know is going to be the best engine. They have a pretty good aerodynamic department, especially with Rob Marshall in the aerodynamics, one of the greatest. Uh, they also have two really good drivers of Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. They're both very consistent. They're not shit drivers. They're very consistent. We also another reason why I chose McLaren is as much as we know Mercedes are fast, Mercedes I think Russell, yeah, is good and everything, but I don't think Antonelli will do great. If I'm being honest. As much as he's hyped and everything, I think he's a mid-tier driver. He's not a guy that would fight for a championship. For Ferrari, I think Ferrari have has one driver that's out of his prime of Lewis Hamilton, and another driver who I think is like not mediocre. He's a good driver, but he just I felt like Charles Leclerc never impressed me. I don't know why. I understand in his first 2 years he was really good, but I think Charles Leclerc just never impresses me. I don't know why. As for Red
He
Bull,
doesn't get it over the line, you should say.
what?
He doesn't get it over the line, you mean. He's not a winner.
Yeah. I don't think he's a winner. I don't think he's consistent, and he's not a winner in my personal opinion. As for Red Bull, you got Isaac Hadjar, which is an unknown, and you got Max Verstappen. Clearly, a team cannot. We seen a team cannot win the championship alone with one driver like last year with Red Bull. So yeah, that's why I chose McLaren as my constructor for my championship. For my championship or the drivers' championship, I think it's gonna be between Russell uh, Russell and Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris, and maybe Max Verstappen.
Mhm. Okay. So you say that you said that the three teams that can challenge for the constructors is or has a chance, sorry, to win the title is Ferrari, Red Bull, and McLaren, right?
No, Ferrari, Mercedes, and McLaren. Red Bull, I don't think
Okay.
have a chance this year.
Okay. So who do you think, if you think McLaren are going to win the constructors, who do you think has a better chance of winning the constructors, Ferrari or Mercedes? Because Mercedes, they don't have two consistent drivers. Antonelli is a good driver, but he's still young. He's going to have ups and downs. And Ferrari, Leclerc is the most consistent, whereas Hamilton is not as used to be before. So who do you think has the better chance of winning constructors, Ferrari or Mercedes?
can I say this? Neither. Like I don't.
No,
I
I know. You said one of them is gonna win the constructors, but we
but
give
I'm
them a
being
better
that
chance.
serious. I'm being the serious. Neither. Like I don't think Antonelli is that great, and he's gonna have mediocre results. Even if the car is fast, he's gonna have mediocre results. You got Hamilton, who has had an absolute terrible last 4 seasons, and the last season, which was absolutely terrible and dog shit. So I really don't see them winning against winning against even having a chance against a team like McLaren, who have two insane drivers, mashallah, and they have two insane drivers. So I can't really I can really can't say yeah. If I had to choose, I'd say I'd say I'd say Ferrari over Mercedes. As much as Mercedes are considered one of the fastest teams, I think Ferrari have a better chance at winning it. But if I'm being honest, I think neither have a chance at winning it. That's my opinion.
Okay, so Ferrari a better chance. Very interesting. I think I'm similar to you. I think the three teams who has a chance to win the constructors. I think it's McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari. I think Ferrari. Listen, it's very unknown because sometimes we see this story before Ferrari where they look good in testing and we think like, oh, Ferrari's back, yay! But it shows the opposite. But I think from the way they showed in testing, they should look better than last season without a shadow of a doubt. Whether that's gonna be enough to fight for the constructors, who knows? Let's see. But I think they have to. I think Leclerc should get better this season. Hamilton should be better than last season. It can't be worse than last season for Ferrari. It can it? Sorry. So I think Ferrari should. I have the constructors they do well and they start the season well, but obviously it's big ifs, of course. McLaren, obviously, they are the reigning champion and two good drivers, and one of them is the current world champion. And they've got a Mercedes engine, so I expect them to be up there. As much as some people might say, "Oh, they're going to be rubbish," and this kind of things. Whereas Mercedes, I also expect them obviously to have the best engine, and they own the engine Mercedes, and they should be better than last season. And Mercedes should fight for a title. They should fight for a title this season. I think with the Russell getting better this season, and there is a huge expectation on him to fight for the drivers' championship, and should get better than last season. I think Mercedes should get better, should fight for a title, whether that's constructors or drivers. Let's see, but I think they should fight for at least a championship this season. Who's going to win it is very difficult to say because Formula One is a 24 race campaign and many things can change and it's very difficult even when one team start the season really well. It's difficult to say, oh, they're going to keep like this for the whole season because the perfect example is for example 2024 where Red Bull were leading the constructors for 75-80% of the season and at the end they didn't finish in the top two. So I think those three teams for sure have a. I think if you say to me who do I think is going to win the constructor championship, I don't know out of those three because it's a long season, but I think for sure it will be a Mercedes engine team for sure. Whether
Hmm.
that's McLaren or Mercedes, I don't know, but for sure it will be a Mercedes engine team. Um, so yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, sure.
so yeah, what do you think?
About what?
What I said.
Ah, I agree with you. I agree with you. I definitely have Mercedes power team is gonna win the championship. Uh, and as much as as much as people are hyping up Ferrari, as much teams were sandbagging in teams were sandbagging in practice in the in yeah in testing. So
Great.
I don't think uh I don't think a single team is I don't think Ferrari were the best team. Ferrari definitely turned up their engine at the end. Um, Other than that, yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely gonna be a Mercedes Ferrari team. It's gonna be between McLaren, Ferrari, and Mercedes. I don't think Red Bull have. uh, don't have don't have the car to compete for the championship this year. They're gonna do good, but then I don't think they're gonna compete. I'm gonna put this out there for the drivers' championship. I don't want to jinx it, but I'm gonna predict Oscar is gonna win the championship this season. That's my opinion. He's gonna do the same thing as Lando
Ooh,
did the last 2 years, where he came close the first year, and then the second year he won it. So that's my opinion.
okay, that's very interesting. But we're gonna get into the drivers shortly. But I agree with the point on Red Bull because firstly, Red Bull don't have the pace of those three teams, even though it's a long season and Red Bull could turn it around as they did last season, where they didn't start the season really well, and then when they sacked Horner and brought on Makers, they were fantastic for the last part of the season, and Verstappen won a lot of races, and Verstappen was just that close to winning the championship. So even despite that, they don't have the pace as others. I don't think that's the main issue. I think the main issue is that they don't have two. I don't think they're gonna have two consistent and good drivers.
Mm.
Obviously, everybody knows that number one driver of Red Bull is Max Verstappen, and rightly so. But at the same time, I don't think. I think as we've seen in the past with Perez and Yuki Tsunoda and other teammates struggle in that second Red Bull seat. So I don't think we'll have the enough capabilities to fight for the constructors championship. Now on to the drivers championship. Uh, how many drivers? You said Oscar Piastri is gonna win the championship. First of all, why? And second of all, how many drivers do you think can win this year's drivers championship?
First of all, never mind. I retract that claim. I don't think Oscar Piastri is gonna win the championship. Who do I think is gonna win the championship? I think Lando Norris might do the double and win it the 2 times in a row. Um, who's gonna have a chance? I think it's gonna be Russell. Russell. Let's say Russell, Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris, and let's say Leclerc. If Ferrari actually have a good car and they weren't actually lying and 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 they and they weren't. I don't mean by they were lying. I mean they weren't. Um, the other teams weren't sandbagging. That's what I mean. So yeah, I think it's gonna be
So you're saying,
both McLaren
so you're
drivers
saying,
and Max Verstappen.
you're saying Russell.
I forgot Max Verstappen. Sorry, and Max Verstappen.
Okay. So I was gonna. So you said drivers the title, Carlo, Charles, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I said Charles, Russell, Lando, Oscar, and yeah, yeah. That's it. And Max Verstappen.
Okay. So in my opinion, I think I agree with you that I think George and Oscar and Lando and Charles and Maxwell can fight for the title. I also think, uh, it might sound a bit ridiculous, but I also think Kimi Antonelli and maybe Lewis Hamilton could fight for the title. Uh,
Really? Are
and
you
obviously,
serious?
I know it's a ridiculous comment, but I think the gap between the four teams and the big four teams and the other teams is big. And first of all, it's very difficult to say Russell, Charles, and other three drivers we mentioned who were fighting for the title last season is going to fight for the title because not only you need your team to be very good in adapting to because let's not forget this is a new regulation change. So not only they need their teams to be good at those regulations, the drivers need to adapt really well to the driving style and what is needed in the new regulation. And it's not guaranteed. Like for example, we saw Lewis Hamilton a lot of times he adapts really well to different regulations, but when it came to the last regulation, he failed massively by his high standards. So I think uh, this season is mostly going to depend from which driver and which team does really well in adapting to the regulation change. So that's why I say Antonelli and Hamilton have a chance to win the title. I didn't say that they're going to win the title, but I think they have a chance. one, that the car could be good. Who knows? Ferrari, the car can be good. And second of all, they can adapt really well and really better in that regulation change than the other ones. So, as much as it's unlikely, I think this is such a unfamiliar territory and such a unique season where it's difficult. Even we expect that driver to fight for the title. It's difficult